People think quitting drinking is hard, and it's totally not. Quitting drinking's the easiest thing you'll ever do. It's simple. I mean, I quit 100 times throughout my life. It's staying stopped that's the hard part. Whenever I talk about my drinking, there's always the same set of questions I get asked, and I've covered a few of them on here. In order, it usually goes like this. What made you stop? Why did you start drinking? Do you ever miss it? And finally, how do you stay sober? The first two questions are covered in other blogs on this site, and as far as do you miss it, the short answer is, yeah, sometimes. I mean, of course I do. It was a huge part of my life for the longest time. Think of it as an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend. You're glad it's over, you wouldn't go back, but you still had good times together. So then there's the last one. How do you stay sober? Well, people think rehab is the magic cure. They think you do your 28 days, you get out, and then you're good. That's what they show you on TV shows and movies anyway. But it's harder than that. You got to figure out what to do once you're out of rehab. Rehab is just boot camp. The war starts when you're back in the real world. The first time I went to rehab was in 2013. I got out, everything was great. I was going to AA, I thought I was good. I had a whole new outlook on life. I was going to take on the world. And I literally made it one calendar week. First time I was home alone, that car drove itself to the liquor store. I lasted 1 week. 1 damn week. The second time I went to rehab, I was with Sarah. We were almost 2 years into our relationship. I want to say it was 2018. I got out, and this time I did pretty good. I think I got 7 months in on that stop date. Really thought I had it under control that time. But again, first time I was left home alone, that damn car steered me right to the liquor store on the way home from work. I lied to myself, like so many other drunks do, said the old familiar line, it's just tonight because I have the house to myself. It's not going to be a regular thing again like before. Bullshit. Within months, I was right back to my old familiar places. And the third time in rehab was just to get Sarah off my back. It wasn't a serious attempt. I think I drank when I got home that night. So again, it all wraps around to the question, how do you stay sober? My answer is extremely complicated, and there's many psychological layers to it. But rather than get into all that, I'm going to follow the AA adage that they recite like a chant. Keep it simple, stupid. So the simple answer is, I stay sober for my daughter. Well, kind of. I stay sober to prove a point to my daughter. Morgan was the first of Sarah's kids that I met. I will go in and out of calling her Morgan and Pumpkin throughout this whole thing, by the way, so just try and keep up. I met Pumpkin when she was 16, and she was the one I instantly had a relationship with. Sarah's oldest son was 18, and he's a whole other blog, but bottom line is, he just wasn't around a lot at first. Her youngest son, Tyler, was only 12 when we started dating, and it took a while for us to warm up to each other. I love all three of them like they were my own, don't get me wrong, but Pumpkin was and will always be my little girl. I always wanted a daughter. I never had one. Unfortunately, I drank through those years, and Sarah can't have kids anymore, so short of a miracle, I'll never have my own children. Pumpkin's dad wasn't very active in her life, so her and I instantly gravitated towards each other when we met. She was the first of all the kids that I did stuff with without Sarah. We'd go to the mall, watch movies. I helped teach Pumpkin how to drive. Even to this day, as she's 23, if I go more than a week without hearing from her, I'll shoot her the weekly text, "You alive?" And she'll respond, "Yeah, LOL." I remember when Pumpkin started college. The first week she stayed at her dorm, she called me and just started talking to me about stuff. I was confused because I didn't know what she wanted, and then it dawned on me. She was just calling to talk to me. I tried not to dork out about it too much and get all emotional, but it meant so much to me. She would never admit it because she's basically just a smaller version of Sarah in terms of pride, but she was scared of being at school for the first time and just wanted to talk to me. In November 2022, I bought her first car. To this day, it's just kind of known that no one holds my heart like she does. I could go on and on about my little Pumpkin, but I gotta stay on track here. How does this relate to me staying sober? The first time I got sober with Sarah, when I went to rehab for the first time and got home, everything was good. It was better than good. It was better than anything had ever been. In rehab, they called this the pink cloud period. It's when everything is sunshine and unicorns. You're on a metaphorical pink cloud. But immediately following that time, that's when you're the most vulnerable. That's when you think you have it beat, you have it under control, and then you have to face the hardest obstacle of your sobriety that you'll ever face. What now? And that's when the majority of us drink again. I couldn't have known it at the time, but one of the most significant events in my life would happen during that pink cloud period, possibly the most significant event. And ironically, it involved Pumpkin and her real father. I had been sober for 3 months. It was 2018, and then Pumpkin visited her real dad for Christmas. I want to take a second to point out, this guy doesn't like me. Not sure why, I never met the dude, but that's beside the point. He said something negative about me to her, and she defended me by saying, actually, Bob is sober now. He went to rehab and he's doing great. And her dad said something to her that would eventually shape the rest of my life. I would end up remembering it forever. He said, Bob will drink again. Trust me, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. She scoffed at him, kind of brushed it off, came home, and we all kept being a little family together. I didn't give it much acknowledgement because remember, I was pink clouding and totally had this under my control. It was never going back to the way things were. Until 4 months later, when Sarah left for the weekend and took the kids with her and left me in the house by myself. And I showed Pumpkin that what her father said was exactly 100% unarguably correct. And I drank. After that, it was a slippery slope. It started slow as these things do. I said it before, every Alcoholics Greatest Hits albums has the same songs on it. I started drinking casually again, then more and more, then missing work, then the arguing. Then Sarah told me it wasn't okay and I couldn't do it in the house anymore. That led to the sneakiness. One more trip to rehab just to see if it would stick. Then Sarah kicked me out. All because I was left home alone for one night. One night, and I threw my whole life away. But worst of all, absolutely the worst of all, I had successfully proven to Morgan that her father was right. Everyone was a hopeless asshole, and everyone in her life would inevitably let her down. No one on this earth will ever know how much that pained me. I just got added onto an ever-growing list of people that continued to disappoint that little girl. I hated myself for that. I still do a little, but I would make it up to her. I got sober on June 21st, 2020, and that August, something would happen that would forever augment my life. I was working things out with Sarah, slowly. She was letting me come over to the house, but I had to go back to my parents' house afterwards. One night, I came over, we watched Cobra Kai with Tyler. I got into my car, started driving the 15 minutes up the road to my parents' house. It was 10:30 at night. The earliest I had left her house since I got sober, and the liquor store on the way home closed at 11. It was open. Just like all the other times, the car steered itself. And I mean, why not? I was starting my new job on September 8th. Sarah and I were working it out. I didn't have anything to do tomorrow. My parents were asleep. I could easily sneak liquor into the house, stay up all night, screw around on YouTube. It would have been fantastic. And more importantly, no one would have known about it. I got in the parking lot, turned the car off, $20 bill in my pocket, right about to walk in. But then I sat there. I sat there almost until the store closed, staring, watching the people going in and out. Some of them were in a panic. They had to get there before the store closed. I remember that urgency. Then you pulled up and saw the open sign lit up, and then that immediate relief. And I just sat there. And over again, it just rang through my mind. He said, Bob will drink again. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. I thought of all the people that let Morgan down in her life. I thought of how much this is what she had learned to expect, how much she had adapted to being let down, how used to seeing an empty seat she had become. I thought about this disappointment is what she expects from people in her life now, and more importantly, what she expects from men. This was the bar that was set for her. I thought about all of that as I sat there. And suddenly, The rest was easy. I turned my car back on and I went home. I woke up the next morning, did some stuff around the house, went back to see Sarah that night, started my new job in September, had a great Christmas that year, got married, became a father to Blur, bought a bread box, took pictures, got on an airplane, started living a normal life. But it was all that one night in August in that liquor store parking lot. That was the turning point. That's when I realized what was different this time. For the first and only time in my life, I chose to go home. I tell the new people about that all the time. The first time you're in that parking lot alone, knowing you'll get away with it, knowing you'll get your medicine and no one will ever find out about it, and you choose to go home. If you can do that, that's when you start to become free. That's when you realize you might just be the 1 out of 7. And I'm thankful to Morgan every single day for doing that for me, for getting me to do that. I want to say I had the strength in me the whole time and it was my decision, but I know it wasn't. I did it for her. She was my strength at that moment. I had to show her. I had to show her that not everyone was going to disappoint her. I had to prove to her that what her dad said wasn't true. I had to show her that if men wanted something bad enough, they were capable of becoming the person that they needed to become to get that thing. I had to set the bar high for her, for my Morgan, the daughter I never had. Since then, Pumpkin and I have had dozens of moments together. She helped me get through the death of my mom. She helped me cope with some of the revelations about my father, and she's still my little girl. Hell, she was the best man at my wedding. She said in her speech that she was proud to call me her dad. I cried in front of the whole reception. It was great. She knows she has me wrapped around her finger, and honestly, I know she does too. Sarah pretends it bothers her how much I spoil Morgan, but I know she loves it. Besides, every girl deserves to be a daddy's girl, no matter how old they are. For those new to recovery, by all means, do whatever it takes to get you out of that parking lot. Do what you need to do to turn the car around and go home. Cling to an idea, cling to whatever hope you need to. I can only speak for myself, but hope can take any form, and new memories will absolutely save you. Anytime I think about drinking, I immediately think of Morgan, how I don't want to let her down, how I have to keep raising the bar for her, how I have to set the example for my daughter. Still so weird for me to say that, but your stepkids really do become your own. She's my daughter. Even just typing that makes me smile. It's easy. I just think of Morgan, and then the car always seems to drive itself home.